Welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to begin Chumash Vayikra, to read Parshas Vayikra, and of course these parashos, the truth is the entire Sefer Vayikra is incredibly focused on sacrificial, the laws of karbanos. And if we're honest, a lot of times when it comes to karbanos, we often find ourselves just looking and searching for a little bit of deeper meaning. After all, we haven't had karbanos. We haven't had the opportunity to go ahead and offer up our karbanos for the last 2,000 plus years. Since the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, we have not had this unique opportunity. While it's true that we do have the opportunity to recite karbanos each and every day, and as the Gemara explains so profoundly, that when a person recites karbanos, it's almost as if we have the ability to actually offer up. The Gemara actually says that one who recites karbanos, it's as if I've actually offered up all of the karbanos. So we relate to karbanos each and every day in our own, we'll call it tefillah type fashion. But practically speaking, we see a lot of these details and we struggle to find relevance. We struggle to find meaning. But what's beautiful is all one needs to do is look a little bit beneath the surface. All I have to do is struggle just a bit to try to extract some morsel, some nugget of relativity, of something that has contemporary meaning, and it's all there. So I'll show you something amazing. The pasuk says, Daber b'nei Yisrael. This is the second pasuk in the parasha. Parak Aleph, Pasuk Beis, Chapter 1, Chumash Vayikra, second Pasuk. Hashem says to Moshe, speak to the Jewish people, Va'amart aleim, and here's what you should say to them. Adam, if a person, Kiyakriv miken karban laHashem, if a person will offer up a karban to Hashem, an offering to Hashem, a sacrifice to Hashem, mina behema, mina bakar, or mina tzon takrivas karbanchem. From behema are animals, bakar, cattle, tzon, sheep. So from animals, from livestock, shall you offer up your karban to Hashem. And the great tzaddik, the Tiferet Shlomo, says something so incredibly beautiful. The Rebbe writes, and I want to quote to you. He says, what's the most unique aspect? What's the most incredible aspect of a karban, right? What's so mind-blowing about sacrificial law? That you could take an animal. Now the truth is, an animal is so mundane. An animal doesn't have kedusha. In fact, we spend so much of our lives trying to make a distinction between ourselves and the animal kingdom, the animal world. In other words, we know how easy it is to descend into base animalistic behavior. And our entire lives are focused on trying to lift ourselves out of the depths of animalistic behavior to become people, to become Adam, to become a Tselem Elokim. So says that the Tiferet Shlomo so beautifully, an animal has no kedusha, an animal has no holiness. An animal sometimes for us is almost like the epitome, the paradigm of unholiness or lack of holiness. Not that the animal is bad, chas v'shalom, but doesn't have any holiness. It's the antithesis of holiness. And says the Rebbe something amazing, but yet a person comes over to the animal, and what does he say? He goes in and he says that Hare zu karban. Person goes over to an animal and makes a declaration. Hare zu karban. This animal is a karban. What happens the moment you go over and you make that declaration? Hare zu karban. This is a sacrifice. Suddenly, that animal is catapulted to the highest levels of Kedusha. Suddenly that animal, which just a second ago was base, mundane, lacked any form, any shred of holiness, is now Kodesh. Now a designated sacrifice. The halacha of an animal designated as a sacrifice, designated as a karban, it has Kedusha. You're not allowed to misuse it. You can't decide to serve it for dinner. You can't decide to go ahead and use it to carry your stuff. Suddenly that animal is Kodesh, is holy. And what's happened? What's changed? It's saying what the animal's learning Daf Yomi, right? The animal's giving tzedakah, the animal is doing chesed. It's the same animal. It's the same animal before the declaration as it is after the declaration, except it's not. It's the declaration itself which fundamentally changes the animal. And says the Tiferet Shlomo, says the Rebbe of Radomsk in such a beautiful fashion. He says, I want to read to you, Kol Shekain. The Rebbe says, if this works for an animal, then imagine what a declaration of holiness and spirituality can do for us. Kol shekain, im hu kora al atzmo, if a person makes a declaration and he says, Hareini mikabel alai lihios kodesh laHashem. I go ahead and I take upon myself to be kodesh, to be sanctified to Hashem. Mehayom v'hala. From this day forward, a person says, Masha haya haya. What happened, happened. Mikan ve'elech hareini kadosh laHashem. But from this moment on, from this moment forward, I am sanctified to Hashem. Says the Tiferet Shlomo, if a declaration of holiness could transform a mundane animal into a chefza shel kedusha, into an object which is the embodiment of holiness, then imagine what a life declaration of kedusha could do for us. You see, sometimes we think that a person only becomes holy when they engage in holy activities. If I want to be holy, I got to do holy things. I've learned Torah, give tzedakah, do chesed, all the beautiful, holy, dynamic activities. And the Rebbe says it's not true. The pathway to holiness actually begins with a declaration, or more of like an aspirational declaration. I want to be more. I want to be more. I want to be holy. I want to be good. I want to be kadosh. I'm not there yet. But I want to declare that here's what I want. Let the past be the past, as the Rebbe says, Masha haya haya, what happened, happened. Mikan ve'elech, right? From his point on, mehayom v'hala, from this day forward, I want to be holy. It says the Tiferet Shlomo, if the declaration of holiness could transform a mundane animal into a cheft, into an object of kedusha, then an aspirational declaration of holiness, a desire, an articulation of a desire to be more, could transform us as well. You see, the pathway to spiritual life success does not actually begin with dynamic activity. It begins with an aspirational declaration. I want to be more. I want to be holier. And the moment I'm able to articulate that dream, that aspiration for myself, my journey to holiness has already begun. And says the Rebbe, that's the pshat in the pasuk. Dabra b'nei Yisrael, tell the Jewish people, va'amart aleim, and teach them, Adam ki yakriv mikem karban laHashem. If a person wants to yakriv mikem, wants to make himself a karban, what does it mean to make himself a karban? Not God forbid to sacrifice myself. The shoresh, the root of karban is karov, to come close. If a person wants to come close to Hashem, isn't that what we all want? Right? All I want is kirvas Elokim. All I want is to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But I don't know why, it just feels so elusive. I don't know what to do. Says the Torah, I'm going to tell you what to do. Min habehima, min abakar, or min atzon takrives karbanchem. Learn how to become karov. Learn how you could become a karban. Learn how you could become close to Hashem. How? Min abakar, min abehima, min abakar, min atzon. Just look at the animals. Whatever works for the animals works for me. And what works for the animals? A declaration. Hare zu karban. All I need to do is declare this animal is kadosh, and suddenly, instantaneously, a metamorphic, overwhelming, comprehensive, cathartic change takes place, and that mundane animal suddenly becomes again a chefza shel kedusha, an object of holiness. Says the Tiferet Shlomo, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, the same way the animal becomes a carbon, the same way the animal comes close to me. Just borrow a play from the animal book. Right? Just go ahead and take what works for them and do it for you. Adam ki yakriv mikem karban laHashem. If I want to bring myself close, the journey to closeness begins with a declaration. We sometimes get so caught up in what it is that we want to do, what we want to accomplish, which is incredibly important. But sometimes we forget that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for as a first step is an aspirational declaration. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And when I summon the courage to say, Ribono Shel Olam, I want to be karov, I want to be close. Masha haya haya, what was. Miyom v'hala, from today and on, Hareini mekadesh es atzmi, I sanctify myself. I want to be great. I want to be holy. I want to be special. And I want to be close. The ability to articulate that desire is the first step in becoming a karban, is the first step in finding our closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.